Walk into almost any enterprise boardroom or government procurement office today, and you will hear a familiar, comforting narrative. The executives will tell you, "We host the AI on our own infrastructure, so we are sovereign." It is a reasonable assumption to make. For decades, IT departments relied on the concept of data residency. As long as your passive SQL databases and storage drives physically sat within your building or inside your national borders, you satisfied compliance and maintained control. Look at this standard security diagram. You secure the local compute, you lock the sensitive data inside a thick, solid firewall, and you achieve data residency. The physical border keeps the outside out. But applying that exact same architectural logic to modern artificial intelligence creates a dangerous vulnerability. Commercial AI deployments introduce operational dependencies that invalidate the assumption of architectural control. Knowing exactly which server rack holds your physical bytes does not answer the only question that matters: who actually controls the operations of the system? Traditional databases are passive. They sit dormant until queried, merely storing and retrieving information. AI systems are completely different. AI models are active decision-making engines. They process classified defense intelligence, triage patients in national health systems, and advise central banks on policy. They are increasingly permitted to act autonomously on behalf of the organization. This is why we have to define digital sovereignty AI. Genuine sovereignty relies on specific technical and legal permissions that exist independently of the geographical coordinates of your hardware. It rests on 4 distinct pillars. First, model control, knowing who built it and who can modify it. Second, operational independence. Third, legal jurisdiction. And finally, supply chain transparency. If you purchase a cluster of GPUs and lock down your facility, but fail to secure the AI's internal logic and external dependencies, your entire operation remains fully exposed to external disruption. Let us look at what actually happens inside commercial AI models that vendors market as deployable on premises. This chalkboard diagram illustrates the hidden reality. Even when installed locally, these deployments secretly maintain constant lifelines back to their creators. The first tether is license validation. The software must periodically phone home to verify your enterprise license is active. If that external ping is blocked, whether by network outage, sanctions, or deliberate vendor choice, the model degrades. Often it triggers a total kill switch event, rendering your expensive local compute useless. The second tether involves API-gated features. An API is a protocol that allows 2 software components to communicate. CIOs like fine-tuning or RAG often require connecting back to the provider's cloud. Even if the base model runs locally, complex reasoning is silently bypassed to foreign servers. The third tether is metered usage reporting and telemetry. Telemetry is the automated transmission of system metrics back to the developer. Vendors require this for billing compliance, but it creates a continuous, silent vector. Metadata and sensitive prompts can leak outside your network. An on-premise model that requires constant external permission and active network access to function is effectively just a remote model in disguise. AI models are not static artifacts. They require continuous maintenance, alignment corrections, and defense against emerging adversarial attacks. In standard commercial deployments, every single one of these critical security patches and behavioral updates flows directly from the vendor. As this flowchart shows, a vendor can unilaterally deprecate an older model version or push a mandatory update straight into your local regulated system. For heavily regulated industries like banking or healthcare, this is an operational nightmare. A financial institution validating a model for credit risk must halt operations and rerun its entire validation suite anytime the model's behavior is altered. The alternative is equally bleak. Refusing the vendor's update forces the enterprise to operate a system with known, unpatched security vulnerabilities. By relying on a foreign vendor's update schedule, the organization surrenders control over its own compliance timelines and operational authority. Technical architecture is only one layer of the risk. AI technology is heavily governed by an increasingly volatile geopolitical landscape. Consider a European defense agency relying on an on-premises commercial AI model to process intelligence. The model provider is legally domiciled in a foreign nation. A sudden international crisis emerges, and the interests of the agency's country and the provider's home country diverge. Look at this map. Domestic authorities in the vendor's home country can pass extraterritorial laws. These laws can legally compel the vendor to restrict foreign usage, instantly overriding your hardware's location. Data residency answers where the server sits. It offers zero protection here. Data sovereignty answers a much harder question: exactly which foreign government holds the legal authority to compel disclosure or restrict usage of that system? When governments impose export controls on advanced AI, the effects cascade. Organizations lose access to GPU hardware, cloud-adjacent support orchestration, and model access overnight. If a foreign government policy decision can shut down the local hardware in your data center, you are caught in the digital sovereignty trap. To escape this trap, organizations must deliberately architect AI systems that are immune to external disruption. The single most impactful architectural decision an organization can make is the adoption of open-weight models. This layer-cake architecture represents the sovereign alternatives. Open-weight models are systems whose internal parameters, the mathematical weights and biases that dictate how the model processes information, are publicly available, fully downloadable, and completely independent of their original developer. The immediate benefit is total isolation. You eliminate API dependencies and permanently eradicate the risk of license revocation. Nobody can turn it off. For compliance, it provides transparency. Internal security teams can conduct exhaustive audits at the parameter level without relying on vendor assurances. It also grants the freedom to fine-tune the model on your highly classified or proprietary data, customizing its behavior strictly for your use cases, with zero vendor oversight. Physically possessing the model weights on your own storage is the only mathematical guarantee that the AI cannot be taken away, altered, or restricted. True independence requires moving further down the stack. You must control the physical infrastructure and orchestration layers. Organizations must utilize open-source orchestration frameworks and actively diversify GPU hardware vendors. Relying on proprietary tools simply shifts vendor lock-in to a lower level. This requires rigorous supply chain transparency. Enterprises must map every single software dependency and track the exact geographic provenance of their hardware components to mitigate downstream export risks. Ultimately, there is one definitive operational benchmark for the C-suite: the air gap test. An enterprise AI deployment is only sovereign if it can continue to function flawlessly if its physical network cable is completely severed. Every IT leader must be able to answer one diagnostic question: if our AI vendor ceased to exist tomorrow, would our systems continue to run indefinitely? Developing AI sovereignty ensures that an organization retains calculated, deliberate control over the systems driving its critical decision-making. If your deployment cannot survive the air gap test, your organization does not own its AI. It is merely renting an illusion of control.